We drove to the airport. We flew through the night. We got there. And by the time we were going, my stomach was a little bit queasy. And to get from where we were going, we had to go on this old rickety bus on this really lumpy road. And I was sitting in the back kind of joking with my buddies. I was a youth at the time, and all of a sudden I started feeling nauseous. The fumes of the bus, the travel, eating some candy I probably shouldn't have been eating. And I said, oh man, I'm not feeling too good. They said, well, come sit at the very front. The air is fresher up here. Get away from the fumes of the back. And it was so hot and sticky and humid. And everybody was getting kind of miserable. And I said, I'm not feeling very good. They go, oh, you'll be fine. Just relax. You'll be fine. I go, I'm not fine. I feel like I'm going to throw up. And because it was so hot and humid, everybody had put the windows down. And there I was in the front seat right behind the bus driver. And I said, really, guys, I think this is not good. I think I'm going to throw up. And I could feel it coming up. And they put my head by the window and that projectile vomit went flying out. But then the wind took it right back in. And it smacked everybody in the hair, everybody in the face, chunks and pieces of candy. And it was like, oh! And then other people started throwing up. It was a bad mess. Oh, man, I was so embarrassed. When I got off of that bus, I waited there and I apologized to each person. They're picking the chunks out of the bus. Did I get it all? And you could see it on people's shirts. And then I looked at the bus driver and I said, sir, I am so very sorry. He gave me a mop, And man, we had to kind of clean that mess upon a mess. It was ugly. And our offenses to other people are very ugly. I think we could all agree one of the most ugly things is when people are prejudiced, when people have ethnic bias, when people are so-called racist. And you see that happen in the Bible. In fact, we see that happen right here in Numbers chapter 12. Moses, the great leader of Israel, remember for a time he was raised in the palace of Egypt, and then he murdered a man, and he went to the wilderness, and in the wilderness he met a shepherd named Jethro, and he got to marry Jethro's daughter Zipporah, and he had some sons, and he had a very quiet life for about 40 years. He lived watching Jethro's sheep, and he engaged in family life. He loved his wife. He loved his children. For 40 years, he had a good life like that. Quiet, secluded, away from all the turmoil and all the worry of life. And then he saw that burning bush, and God sent him back to Pharaoh to say, let my people go, and the plagues happened. And somewhere in the wilderness, Zipporah dies. And his heart, no doubt, was broken. But then in chapter 12, he remarries a woman from Ethiopia, an African woman. And when he takes this second wife, when he remarries, his brother and his sister are prejudiced. They don't like him marrying somebody from Africa. And they start speaking up against him. And they start whispering to themselves, do you think God only spoke through Moses? Who does he think he is? How dare he marry this woman? This isn't right. And so the Lord interrupts them as they're whispering about Moses. And the Lord rebukes them. And there the three of them are in the tabernacle. And the cloud of the Lord goes over it. And the Lord begins to speak. And he says to Miriam and Aaron, their brother and sister, who do you think you are? He says, shut your mouth. Amen. You should never talk about Moses like that. If I want to speak to somebody, I give him a dream. If I want to speak to somebody, I give him a vision. But Moses is my guy. I speak to Moses like somebody speaks to a friend. How dare you think it was ever okay that you would offend my anointed? And as the Lord is speaking, Miriam's skin starts quivering. And these white flakes start falling. And all of a sudden these legions start protruding from her skin. And she was smitten instantly with leprosy. And she looks at her brother. Her brother starts to panic. And the two of them look at Moses. And right away, Aaron says, Moses, we were wrong. Moses, I am sorry. Moses, Miriam is sorry. Moses, please. Don't let us die like this. Please ask God. Please forgive us. And so Moses says to the Lord, Lord, will you heal my brother and sister? And the Lord is still angry and said, if a man were to spit on her, she would be unclean at least for 7 days. That was the law of cleanliness and uncleanliness. You're going to stay where you are for 7 days. And so the whole nation stayed in that place for 7 days. And then she was healed and her skin was back. And then they could move on. We see that Aaron and Miriam made direct amends as much as they could. And if we want to walk in the freedom of God, if we want to live the life that God has, we need to make direct amends. There has to be a sincere sorrow. We have to allow some separations. There has to be a sense of consequences that we caused. In San Francisco a couple of years ago, there was 3 drunk young men. One had been smoking a lot of marijuana. They'd all been drinking a lot of alcohol. And they came to where the tigers were. And they started laughing at the tigers. And they thought it was funny to throw pens and pencils at the tigers. And then one of them took some pebbles and started throwing them at the tigers. Stupid tigers, dumb tigers. What are you going to do about it, dumb tiger? And they didn't notice that one of the tigers hopped over the encampment, went under the fence, and was quietly sneaking up on them, staying in a bush. When they were done having their fun throwing stuff at the other tigers, they turned and looked, and a tiger mauled and killed 2 of them. They did the tox report. They said their alcohol limits were way over the major one. Let me tell you something, guys. What do you think is going to happen? You remember a couple years ago when that guy was throwing water at Mike Tyson on the airplane? Mm-hmm. What do you think is going to happen? That's Mike Tyson. He'll eat your children. He'll bite your ear. He's the knockout champion of the world. That's the guy you're not supposed to mess with. Look at verse